Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Fillmore. I'm your host, Adrian Robledo, and today we're joined by a wonderful guest here in Fillmore. None other than my mom, Theresa Robledo, who's the broker owner of Diamond Realty here in Fillmore. We hope you guys enjoy. Hello, Mrs. Robledo. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. I want you to talk a little bit about your business and how you guys got there.
Well, I got licensed back in 2005. I didn't really put my license to work until probably about 2007. I come from a background of working in the legal community as a paralegal. I was working very happily out of my home. I worked for other agencies, and then it came to a point where I just started working out of my home. We opened up a storefront, and we had been there for 9 years. We're now in a upgraded building in Fillmore. I never thought it could get better than where we were, but we're in a historical landmark building. It's actually Ventura County Historical Landmark.
Go ahead and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've came from Fillmore. Are you originally from Fillmore?
No, we're not originally from Fillmore. We're actually from Ventura, so the east end of Ventura, or to be more specific, Old Town Saticoy. That's where I grew up. We came to Fillmore in 1999. We were in Saticoy, and my husband, we got married in 1990. After we got married, we bought a place in Santa Paula. So we were in Santa Paula for about 9 years in a condo, and then we wanted to upgrade to a little house so we can have more freedom for our kids to grow up and play and learn how to ride a bike. So we came to Fillmore in 1999. It was more affordable for us.
I know that you've had a rough upbringing, and I know a lot of people don't know that about you, but I think it's important to share our stories. So tell us about your past and your upbringing.
Sure. I grew up in Saticoy. I was raised primarily by my grandparents as a young child. Reason for that is my mom and dad, they were drug addicts. We grew up in an area that was a little rough. Some people look at it like, wow, how did you survive that? But I think that's what has made me successful today for growing up in the environment that I have. I did kind of move around from family member to family member as a young child because of my parents being in and out of trouble, being in trouble with the law and in the prison system. As a child, you don't look at those things as rough or hard circumstances because it's something that you grew up with until you're old enough to realize like, wow, that's not really normal to live like that. But I'm very thankful for just having that strong background and being raised by a loving family. I can't say any more about my family being loving. They had options. I could have went to a foster home. I could have went, other places. But I'm grateful. And that kind of ties into housing for me, because I know what it's like to have some stability with housing, because if you're going from house to house, as a child especially, you want to have some stability. And it wasn't stable a lot of times. That environment, you don't realize it until you're out of it. So, yeah, I made the best of all the circumstances.
Very good. Very powerful. Can you explain some obstacles that you might have faced in your personal life or financial life?
Well, yes. My mom, she would work the system. I mean, she was in and out of prison, so she qualified for all the government subsidy, things that are out there as far as welfare, Medi-Cal, and everything. So my mom, she raised me on welfare. When she would go to prison or go to jail, I would still receive her welfare checks. As I grew up, 13, 14 years old, I'd get her checks, cash them at the local store, put half on her books while she was gone. I had the other half to survive on, and whatever they call it, EBT now, but they were food stamps. My grandparents, though, they weren't, I don't want to say they were wealthy, but as far as them, they weren't hurting financially. They were hard workers, and they had 6 kids, and they provided very well for them and shopped at all the finer stores and whatnot.
Bringing brought up with all of that, what were some challenges that you had to face to get where you are now?
Well, I would say that growing up, some of the challenges were I would get to hear all the local gossip about me. Like, oh, she's going to grow up. She's going to be just like her mom. She's going to be just like her dad, on drugs, in and out of prison. And, those words, I use them to motivate me, to inspire me, to fire me up. And I chose, not to go that route. By the grace of God, I graduated from a regular high school with more than enough credits. I didn't have to go to school, but I went. And then after that, I pursued education. I went to different colleges to be better. I took like a legal word processing program, and that's how I started into the legal field. There was an uncle that I had. He was married into the family. He was Italian from DC. And my Uncle Jimmy told me, he said, Terry, don't ever wait for a handout. So I always wanted to do better. I always worked. I never wanted to wait for a handout, and just learned how to make it. One of the other things that I recently did, I did take a course at Harvard Law School, and that to me was like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't even have a BA, but I took the course on leadership and negotiation, and that was an amazing experience. Mm-hmm.
Now, why are you still in real estate today?
I have no idea. No. I have to say this, though, that real estate is not really, I don't really feel like it's my career. I feel like it's more of my calling. And my calling has turned into a ministry. Because when we meet the clients, they have no guidance, they're relying on you, they're trusting you, and I don't take that lightly. It's just like if I have to have surgery and I'm going to a surgeon and I need to find out the details of what's involved, do I want to go through with this because it's going to impact my life? I take it the same way when clients seek us for direction on real estate, because it is one of the most biggest investments that people ever make, and they're seeking you for guidance. It's been a blessing. We've built a family, friends, and to me, that is gratifying. That's more than the paycheck I can make off of a sale.
What are some key successful things that led you to have a real estate career for 18 years? I mean, some real estate agents just drop the game after a couple months.
Just being transparent, answering your phone, responding to people. We're not just vested in the community to help them with real estate, but I sit on the board for the Boys and Girls Club. To me, that's something that's very dear to my heart, the kids of our community. To me, those are like my IRAs, of what I pay into, because that's our future. That's our investment here. Also involved with California Women in Agriculture, because we have a lot of ranch properties here. I do it for the education part of it, to find out different laws that are changing that are going to impact our sellers and buyers in our area. Also, the kids that are involved in our community with FFA and these different organizations, Grange. We get so many letters every year when it's the fair season. Because of the animals that they raise, they're looking for us to buy their animals, which we don't buy their animals, but we do donate to them. So if you send us a letter, it may not be a whole lot of money, but we want to go and see the kids and acknowledge their animals, take a photo with them, and donate a little bit.
What are some things for Diamond Realty that you see coming in the future?
In the future, our property management division is really taking off now. We never really promoted it. We've always referred it out, but we were hearing horror stories about people's experiences. So now we've got all the software and all the platforms now to have that as a full service, and it's really exploding.
What are some things that you do for Fillmore?
Some things that we do? Fillmore is known for all their wonderful community events. We get asked, do you want to have a booth? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? We're always yes. Of course, it's for our community. We're really plugged into our community. We love our community. We're a blessed community. There's been times where we've had what's that hammer thing that you do at the fair? So we've had that out there, like
yeah.
at some of the community events, and we've rented like a humongous jolly jumper that had a slide, and it was just so much fun for the kids. And we're just out there with our sign, just welcoming people to our community.
What are some things that Diamond Realty does to sustain high quality service?
When you're genuine with your clients and you're transparent with them, there's not a whole lot of maintaining you need to do, if I reach out to them by a text or an email. And I have to say that everybody isn't for us, and we're not for everybody.
If I'm just a new person looking to buy a home for the first time, what would be 5 key steps to do that?
Okay. So 1, you need to tell me how long you've been on your job or how long you've owned your business. 2, you need to tell me your credit score. 3, you need to tell me how much money you got in the bank. 4, you need to tell me what your assets are. Tell me about those Bentleys and those Range Rovers you have. And 5, how fast do you gotta move, and where are you moving from? Are you moving from mom and dad? Are you living with a roommate? Are you on your own renting? What's your situation?
And throughout this interview, you say, I thank God. So when was the moment, right, from your growing up to where you are now, when God came in your life?
Well, I have to say, even as a small child, I always had a reverence towards God. Just everything that I lived through and seen, I knew that God was there. I was raised Catholic, but I will say that my true experience when I met Jesus was when my mom had her stroke, and that was October 23rd, 1989. At that time, I was 19 years old. I was working for an escrow company, and I remember getting the phone call at work. My mom was in the hospital, and I needed to get over there as soon as possible. And then my fiance at the time had met me over there, which is now my husband today. I remember being in there and seeing my mom. She was in ICU on a drug overdose from heroin. And I remember the doctor sitting me in a room and telling me that, I'm very sorry, but your mom, she's hooked up to a brain monitor, a breathing machine, she's in a coma. She's not going to make it, and I'm very sorry. She had a bad dose of heroin. At that time, some friends of mine, we had stopped hanging out because they got all involved in church, and to me, they were kind of a little weird to me after, because I was just busy working and, doing my life, and they were just different. But those friends that were different were one of the first ones to call me, and they said, is it okay? Can we come over and visit? Can we bring our pastor so he can come and pray for your mom? I said, absolutely, yeah, come on over. So they came to the hospital. Their pastor went and prayed for my mom when she was in a coma. And the pastor came out. He looked at me and he said, your mom's going to make it. And I looked at that man, and he said, yeah, your mom's going to make it. The devil's mad. He's not going to have her. And I was like, what is this man talking about? The doctor just told me my mom's going to die. But I wanted to believe that man, because despite what my mom used to do, I loved her. She was my mom. And after that, she started progressing. She woke up from her coma about a week later. And so then the doctors were saying, well, now that your mom survived it, she's not going to be normal. She's going to be like she's mentally retarded. She will not walk. She will not talk again. And all those things that those doctors predicted was not true. God literally raised her from the dead. This was a 3-month process of her being in the hospital. I got saved and met Jesus through this ordeal. And the thing that I have to say, that despite the choices that my mom made, she had a second chance at life. But it also saved my life too. That's how I became a believer.
Well, thank you for being a guest on today's show here. Thank you for raising me. Thank you for being a praying mother. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Good Morning Fillmore.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope that it will encourage somebody out there.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Good Morning Fillmore. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found some inspiration and some light out of it. Please feel free to share and like this story, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Like, don't ever think that however you were raised or whatever your background or your, you're raised on the right, wrong side of the tracks or whatever. Don't let that detour you. God has a plan for you.